I spent months building a raised garden with my daughter. Every Saturday, we'd water it together. Last weekend, we came out to find it leveled. Flattened. A cement slab had been poured over it with patio furniture set up. My neighbor sat there, drinking wine, and said, "You didn't use it enough. I'm reclaiming it." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. But then she filed a property line adjustment with the county, using a fake deed. I got a lawyer. She got cuffed. And what she confessed in court made the whole room gasp. My name's Nate. I live in Petaluma, California. HVAC tech for 15 years. I've owned my house here since 2019. It's nothing fancy, but it's home. Quiet street, decent neighbors, at least I thought. I'm a single dad. My daughter Ava is 9. Her mom walked out 2 years ago. I came home from a job, found a note on the table and half the closet empty. No warning. I was pissed, confused, but mostly worried about Ava. She cried for a week straight. I didn't have any answers. So I started looking for a way to give her something steady. Something we could do together. That's how the garden started. We had a strip of yard behind our house. Fenced in. About 12 feet wide and 30 feet long. Full sun most of the day. I cleared it out, bought lumber from Home Depot, and we built 3 raised beds together. Took us 3 weekends just to level the ground. Every Saturday, we'd be out there. Me and Ava. Planting, watering, pulling weeds. She'd tell me stories while she poked holes for seeds. Sometimes she'd hum to the plants. She said it helped them grow. We had tomatoes, cucumbers, green beans, strawberries, even sunflowers. I didn't care if it worked or not. I just liked hearing her laugh again. We did it every week. Rain or shine. I've got photos. Videos. Ava holding up her first tomato like she just won the lottery. So fast forward to last Saturday. We slept in a little. Came out around 9 with our gloves and watering cans. And stopped dead in our tracks. The whole garden was gone. The wooden beds? Torn out. Soil? Scooped down to the dirt. It was all covered in gray concrete. A brand new slab. On top was a full patio set, glass table, metal chairs, umbrella already open. And sitting there, legs crossed, wine glass in hand at 9:15 in the morning, was my neighbor Joelle. She looked at me and said real calm, "You didn't use it enough. I'm reclaiming it." I didn't say anything at first. I was so shocked I thought maybe this was some messed up joke. I laughed once, more like a reflex. "Joelle, what the hell is this?" She sipped her wine. "That part of the yard was never yours. Look at the survey. You built over my property." That's when I started getting mad. "No, I didn't. That land is mine. It's always been mine. It's in my deed." She just smiled, leaned back, and said, "Then prove it." I had to pull Ava away because she was starting to cry. Her sunflowers were gone. The strawberry plants she named? Buried under 6 inches of concrete. I walked back inside, shaking. That night I pulled out my paperwork, the original deed, the survey I got when I bought the house. It showed my lot ran exactly to the fence. The garden was 100% within my property. But 2 days later, I got a notice from the county in the mail. Joelle had filed a property line adjustment. She claimed the last survey was incorrect. Attached to the notice was a deed that said the property line ran 6 feet deeper into what used to be my yard. The garden? According to her new map, it had always been hers. I took one look at the deed and something felt off. The font was different. The formatting didn't match mine. And the notary stamp at the bottom looked like a bad photocopy. I wasn't about to play games. I called my friend Kyle, who's an attorney. He looked at the deed and said flat out, "This isn't real. If it is, someone's committing fraud." We filed an emergency injunction and a restraining order to stop the county from approving anything. Kyle contacted the assessor's office and got a hearing date. Meanwhile, Joelle went online and posted about how I was harassing, her and claiming land that didn't belong to me. She told other neighbors I was mentally unstable. Then she went even further. Filed a police report saying I'd come onto her property and threatened her. That I had. Violently demanded she destroy her patio. I'd done none of that. She was pushing hard. Too hard. That's when Kyle subpoenaed the notary listed on her fake deed. And that's where everything turned. The notary listed died in 2019. Her deed was dated 2021. Joelle had forged the entire thing. Used an old notary stamp she found online. Cut and pasted sections from other deeds. The county opened a fraud investigation. The police got involved. During the next court date, Joelle sat next to her lawyer like nothing was wrong. The judge brought up the notary's death and asked for clarification. Her lawyer tried to dodge. Said they needed more time. The judge denied it. Then came the search warrant. They searched her house and found drafts of the fake deed on her laptop. Multiple versions. Different signatures. One of them still had template.docs in the title. Joelle was arrested right there in court. Handcuffed in front of everyone. She didn't say a word. But the real gut punch came during arraignment. The prosecution had her phone. They read out loud her text to a friend. I'm gonna pour concrete over that loser's tomatoes and see if his brat cries. He's too stupid to notice a fake deed. I looked at Ava, who was sitting beside me, clutching her hands in her lap. She didn't cry. She just stared straight ahead. I think she understood more than she let on. Turns out Joelle had done something similar before. In Sacramento, she filed a fake claim to extend her backyard. Scared the older couple next door into a payout. Got away with it. But this time? She picked the wrong yard. And the wrong kid. She's facing multiple felony charges: fraud, forgery, filing false documents, and making false reports. Her case is still ongoing, but the DA is pushing hard. The judge ordered the patio destroyed and the concrete removed. At her expense. Ava and I will rebuild the garden this summer. She still hums to the plants. Still thinks they grow better that way. And I kept Joelle's wine glass. It's sitting in my garage now, right next to the shovel I'll use to replant Ava's sunflowers. Joelle getting cuffed should have been the end of it. I thought once she was out of the picture, things would go back to normal. But that's not what happened. 3 weeks after her arrest, I came home from work to find a letter taped to my front door. No stamp, no return address. Just a typed note that read, "You think this is over? You embarrassed the wrong person. Watch your back." No signature. Just that. I called Kyle right away. He told me to document everything and call the police. I did both. Officer Ramirez came by, took a report, bagged the letter for evidence, and promised extra patrols around the street. I also had security cameras installed, front yard, backyard, both sides. Ava was scared, but I told her it was just to make sure no one bothered us again. I didn't tell her about the note. Then strange things started happening. Ava's bike went missing from the backyard. Gate was still locked. Camera didn't catch anything. Someone had unplugged it from the side outlet. 2 days later, I came out to my truck in the morning and saw someone had slashed all 4 tires. The cops said it could have been a random act, but I knew better. Joelle was still in custody awaiting trial, but it didn't feel like she was gone. I figured she had someone helping her. A friend? A relative? Someone who believed her side of the story. One night I caught a break. Around midnight my doorbell cam pinged. I pulled up the feed and saw a shadow in my front yard. Someone crouched by the mailbox. I hit the floodlight, and they bolted. They left something behind. Another note, shoved halfway into the mailbox. This one was handwritten. "The garden was never yours. She told me everything. We're taking it back." Now it was clear. Joelle wasn't working alone. She had help. And that meant even with her locked up, I wasn't safe. Kyle and I brought everything to the DA. They took it seriously, especially with the upcoming trial. Turns out Joel had a nephew, Derek, who lived 2 towns over. 24. No job. No real address. He'd stayed with her a few times. We gave the name to the cops, and sure enough, he had priors. Petty theft. Trespassing. Vandalism. They found him 3 days later, hiding out at a friend's trailer in Sebastopol. In his car they found Ava's missing bike, 3 cans of spray paint, and one of my mailboxes, ripped clean off. But what tied it all together was the journal. Yeah. Derek kept a damn journal. In it, he wrote everything. How Joel told him to scare me into backing off. How she promised him money from a civil suit if she won. How they planned to make it look like I was unstable, paranoid, maybe even dangerous to Ava, so they could file a CPS complaint if needed. The plan was to make me look like a threat. Force the court to settle the property dispute. Then flip the story and sue me for emotional distress. She wanted revenge, not just for the garden, but for being embarrassed in court, and for being treated like trash by that blue-collar loser. I sat in the police station and read those pages while Ava waited outside the interview room with a coloring book. I don't remember breathing for a full 5 minutes. Joel had tried to destroy my life because I'd built a garden with my daughter. And I wasn't done with her yet. After they picked up Derek, things were quiet for a few days. Too quiet. I didn't sleep much. I kept waking up in the middle of the night, checking the cameras, pacing from room to room. Ava started asking if we could go stay with Grandma in Modesto for a while. I told her no. I wasn't going to be chased out of my home. But I started to realize something. Joel wasn't just mad about losing the land. She was obsessed with control. This wasn't about a garden anymore. It was about power. And she didn't like losing it. Derek's journal wasn't the only thing he kept. When detectives went through his phone, they found screenshots of my social media. Posts from Ava's garden blog. Photos of her in the yard, holding veggies, sitting on the fence, watering the plants. He'd saved dozens. Some of them were marked with red circles. One photo had a note underneath. This angle shows full fence. Dispute line here. He was cataloging us. Watching us. But the worst part. One of the images was taken from our yard, from a side angle I'd never posted. That meant he'd been inside our fence. Probably while we were home. Possibly more than once. I lost it. I told Kyle I wanted to sue her civilly. Not just for the fraud, for emotional distress, property damage, harassment, everything I could legally throw at her. He said it might be hard, since she was already facing criminal charges. But then he paused and said, "There's one other thing." Joel had homeowner's insurance. The kind that covers wrongful property claims. If we could prove she committed willful fraud, and that it caused documented emotional and financial damage, we could go after her policy for a major payout. So I filed a civil suit. $125,000 in damages. I didn't even care about the money. I wanted it on record. I wanted a public paper trail that said, "You don't get to do this to people," and walk away. That's when Joelle broke her silence. Her lawyer filed a counterclaim against me. Said I'd created a false narrative that destroyed her reputation, that I harassed her, and that my online smear campaign caused her extreme emotional trauma. And somehow, in the middle of all this, Joelle made bail. She was out. I found out when Ava came running into the living room one night saying, "Dad!" "She's outside." I ran to the window. Joelle stood across the street. In a beige coat. Just staring at the house. Not saying a word. Not moving. She didn't step onto my property. She didn't break any laws. But she wanted me to know she was out. That she was watching. I called the cops. Again. They couldn't arrest her for standing on a public sidewalk. But they did send an officer to talk to her. She left before he got there. That night, I slept with a baseball bat next to my bed. The next morning, Ava asked, "Is she going to take our garden again?" I didn't have an answer. That same week, we got a call from the school. Someone had called the office and claimed I was abusing Ava. Said she had bruises, was kept out of school, and that the father shouldn't be around children. They had to file a report. CPS showed up at my door 2 days later. I let them in. Showed them everything. The garden photos, Ava's room, her drawings, her attendance record, her doctor visits. The woman from CPS apologized as she left. She said it was clearly false. But they had to check. Joelle was trying to ruin me from every angle. And she still had her trial coming up. The weeks leading up to the trial were the worst of my life. Ava started having nightmares. She wouldn't sleep in her room unless I stayed with her. Every time the doorbell rang, she jumped. Every time we saw a car slow down in front of the house, she grabbed my arm. And me? I was running on caffeine and fury. I couldn't focus at work. I stopped going out. My whole world had narrowed down to one thing: making sure Joelle paid for what she did. The trial finally started in Sonoma County Superior Court on a gray Monday morning. The courtroom wasn't full, but it felt tight. Like the air was heavier than normal. I sat beside Kyle, wearing my only decent blazer. Ava stayed with my sister in Modesto for the week. Joelle walked in like nothing had happened. Fresh haircut. New jacket. Smiling like this was all some small misunderstanding. Her lawyer leaned in and whispered to her constantly. She didn't even look at me. The prosecution laid everything out. The fake deed. The dead notary. The cut-and-paste documents. The patio slab. The texts about Ava. The journal. The missing bike. The CPS call. They painted the picture. Joelle hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a plan. Her defense? She claimed mental illness. Said she had a period of disassociation, and that Derek manipulated her. That she was under emotional strain from a divorce no one could confirm even happened. That she was obsessed with reclaiming stability, and mistook my land for hers due to map confusion. But the jury didn't buy it. How could they? It took them 6 hours to come back. Guilty. On all counts. Fraud. Forgery. Filing false claims. Harassment. Conspiracy. Lying to the police. She was sentenced to 4 years in state prison. Not jail. Prison. She cried when they cuffed her. But that wasn't the end. 2 months later, I got a call from Kyle. We'd won the civil suit too. Her insurance had to pay the full $125,000. Turns out, they tried to deny the claim at first, until the adjuster read Joelle's text messages out loud in court. They didn't want her name tied to their company. They settled fast. I took part of the money and tore down the rest of that fence line. Rebuilt it farther in. Not because I had to. Just because I could. The new fence is 10 feet taller, with a camera on each corner. Then we rebuilt the garden. Ava chose new plants: lavender, corn, even watermelon. I let her pick out some wind chimes too. We call it our piece of peace. But here's the part one haven't told anyone. That second letter? The one that said, "We're taking it back." I wasn't 100% honest when I gave it to the police. There was something else written on the back. In small, shaky handwriting. "You don't deserve her." At first, I thought they meant the land. Or the house. But the more I read it, the more I realized they meant Ava. Joelle wanted my kid. Maybe not literally. Maybe not to raise. But to ruin. To break the one good thing I'd kept safe. And I failed for a while. I let someone in. I let someone tear up her sanctuary. I let someone make her feel scared in her own backyard. I won't make that mistake again. Ever. Now every time Ava picks a strawberry or clips basil for dinner, I remind myself, she's safe. Not because the world is safe, but because I made it safe again. No one's taking anything else from us. Not ever.